Yes! 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 And several more yeses. Hello, I'm Jim Smallman. Welcome to the Slam. We're back for a special WrestleMania wrap-up sort of edition. Joining me in the studio, he's normally here. The son's Rob McNichol.
Can't keep me away.
Well, you know.
Is it nice to be able to see me without a big palm tree in your way?
It is,
make a change for
yeah, it's nice that I can see all of you and not just 70% of you. First-time guest in the studio with us.
Hello.
Mr. Ash Rose, who we've had on, you've been on the Skype.
I have been on Skype Wall, yeah. I think I offended Brendan Burns at one point by saying The Undertaker shouldn't fight Triple H, but hopefully he's forgiven me by now.
Yeah, to be fair, he's still in Miami. He's having the time of his life. He went, I can say this because Brendan's a mate. But he gave me a WrestleMania ticket, so eternally grateful. Thanks, Brendan. But at the same time, he also did travel to the event in a limo. You've changed.
Oh, that's to do it in style.
So yeah, he's showbiz. Now I always
in the boot, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I know. We'll put it past him. I always have to ask 3 questions. Anyone in the studio for the first time? Favourite wrestler of all time?
1 or 2 for me. Growing up, I would have said Sting, because I was well into sort of the NWO stuff.
Yeah, and the Police
Sting.
were excellent as a band.
Yeah, of course, yes, all of them. All versions of Sting as well, like the Bleach Bong, even the Joker Sting made me laugh. And also the other one would be The Rock. For me, he's just pure entertainment, and I think it showed again last night. And
he is what a wrestler should be.
Yeah, exactly. He's not the the Mac technician that some might like, but for pure round entertainment, for making you laugh as well. I think you get some, back in the earlier days, I was watching the new Rock DVD the other day, and he's just brilliant, and I was so pleased after last night as well.
Yeah, no, I'd totally agree with you there. Favourite current wrestler?
It's difficult really, because I went through phases. I think Randy Orton for a long time, but I think his character started to go a little bit stale at the moment. The same with The Miz. Liked a lot of stuff that Chris Hero was doing in Ring of Honor, but if I had to pick one, I think everyone says the same thing at the moment. I think Ziggler. I think he's just got it. I think there's a mix of the Kurt Hennig in him, and I think after WrestleMania now, hopefully he'll make that step up, because I think he's definitely got the ability.
Got hair like spaghetti though.
Yes, and a friend of mine has the same hair as well, which is brilliant. Yes, when he gets a little bit angry,
We're having him just there in the next show.
Favourite match of all time?
As a kid, I always amazed by WrestleMania 10, Michaels, Ramon, the ladder match. I think
great match.
That's whenever I think of a match, that's the first one that always pops into my head. I think it just kind of changed the ball game in wrestling. I've never seen anything like that before.
It made the level of high spot you needed to do in a match. It changed the sort of level you needed to put in.
Oh, completely. And I was quite a big Razor fan as well, so it was everything rolled into one. I think I could still watch that match today, and I think it still holds up pretty well as well.
I think what they did in that match was they actually had a match and used the ladder as a prop, rather than, I'm not knocking the TLC matches and stuff that came afterwards, but they became spot fest and things that you could do in stunts.
Yeah. But
Razor and Shawn, it would have been a great match on its own. It just happened that to be the prop, and they used it phenomenally. It was terrific.
Now you've written for WWE Kids, haven't you?
Yeah, I still do. Yeah.
And I mean, how does that sort of affect your opinion of wrestling? Because on the plane back from Miami, and in case you are wondering, I am incredibly jet lagged. we're filming this on a Tuesday afternoon. I landed at Heathrow at 9 o'clock this morning after being in Miami for several days. So I genuinely might pass out during the recording of this, and I apologise. But I was sat next to a lad who was a big Cena fan, and I tried not to hit him, and it was fine. No, to be fair, I promised I'd say hello to him, because he was lovely and really knew loads about wrestling for a 13-year-old lad. And I said, I'm wearing a CM Punk t-shirt, so I was like, you weren't too disappointed. Well, oh no, I'm not bothered, I just like John Cena.
Yeah.
He was called Alfie, so I did say I'd say hello. So hello Alfie, you're a nice lad. And but how does it? Because obviously, writing for WWE Kids, you obviously have to get into that mindset, don't you? And I suppose look at it from that point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I've written for kids magazines for a while, so I still write for a kids football magazine as well. But you do have to sometimes watch it and take an element out of it that you wouldn't normally as a fan, because the PG era was obviously boomed for kids.
Yeah.
So, and you have to kind of look at it objectively sometimes, saying, like last night, I wanted The Rock to win, but I knew that the readers of WWE Kids per se would want John Cena to win.
Well, I saw something astonishing in the Sun Life Stadium, which was as soon as the bell had rung. I mean, there weren't that many Cena fans there. I mean, certainly I videoed both entrances because I wanted to see what they were like.
Yeah.
And Cena's entrance, I have never heard booing like it. like a tremendous amount of booing.
You see, I don't think that came across on TV. Watching it live, watching it in my house, I thought that I was quite surprised at how muted the booing was for Cena. So that suggests that they tinkered with something a little bit even live.
Because it was in the stadium, unbelievably loud, the booing for him. Although, it was weird how the atmosphere was, because when he hit the attitude adjustment, the crowd massively popped for it. And they were against him before. And it was the same in the Jericho-Punk match. Whenever Jericho put Punk in the walls of Jericho, the crowd went nuts for it, but the rest of the time they were booing him. It was a very strange.
I think on TV as well, I think because the event was in a stadium, I think you lose some of the noise. It's like being in a football stadium. Yeah. Some of the reaction you get, I don't think it comes across. You're there, you can hear it. But on TV, I think it kind of lost that a little bit. Because I thought the same as you. I thought
great point.
The boos would be louder.
And the weird thing was, at the end of the match, once the bell had rung, the few people you would see in top-to-toe Cena stuff, especially kids, were leaving the stadium in tears. And it was hilarious. You know, we've discussed this before. I'm fine. I like Cena's in-ring work. He's very good at what he does. I thought the role that he played in the match at the weekend was tremendous. It was a heelish thing that he did at the end, which is exactly how he should have lost the match. Because, I'll be honest, people in Miami quite like The Rock, and if he hadn't have won, that stadium would have burnt to the ground.
Well, he had the classic "If Cena wins, we riot" sign in the front row.
I saw a lot of the Cena wins, we riot signs, and there was every other match you get smart aleck wrestling fans who always cheer for who always cheer for the people they're not meant to cheer for. But at this, you know, everybody was pretty much for The Rock, and I still didn't expect him to win. No, even though I was in the stadium, I thought there would be something that would happen that would change it.
I was Rock's going to win for pretty much 11 and a half months. As soon as they said the match, I went, Rock isn't going to lose in Miami. And I was almost entirely convinced of it until Raw last week. And I bought the, Cena's patter about, I can't afford to lose. I didn't think they'd have Cena say, I can't afford to lose this match if he wasn't winning it. And I thought it was, I've said a long time, if that's Rock done, which it doesn't look like it is after this promo on Raw, if that's Rock done, the booking was strange to not have Cena beat the guy and look stronger. But if Rock's sticking around, it does make sense. And there are other people that Rock can face, and if he wants to go after the title, like he said on Raw, then
it's a great promo.
It was a good promo, and it keeps if the Rock is going to stay involved. If the Rock loses his first match, the rest of his matches lose a little bit of sheen. But because he's won it, he now is credible that he's back on the scene and he can wrestle these guys.
I think the way they will use The Rock from now on will be like how New Japan used Antonio Inoki for years, in that he will very rarely lose, but. Having a good match with him is enough to put you over.
Yeah, Cena didn't lose anything on Sunday night.
But equally, Cena isn't the draw that The Rock is.
No, he's not.
And will never be.
And he's not. And we'll come to it later on in the show, no doubt. But he's not the draw that the fella that came out at the end of Raw is either.
No.
And that's obviously something that's going to be interesting going forward to see who he ends up working with over the next year, because I think he's going to clash with the gentleman on the right at some stage. It just depends.
But equally, and I know we'll talk about Raw a bit more later on, but the crowd for Raw was very hard, but always is after Mania. It's always a very hardcore crowd. A lot of the people in the crowd will have been British or Australian or from other countries that have come in for it. And again, I hate Cena. And it does seem that WWE are trying desperately to still just go, no, we're not going to turn him. But eventually they're going to have to, because he is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that one of their best-selling T-shirts on the day, like I got the last large in this T-shirt, and I bought the last grey one for my agent. And so all the Punk stuff went, all the WrestleMania merchandise, the official branded WrestleMania merchandise went, Randy Orton's T-shirts went, all those stuff went. The only T-shirts that didn't sell out were Cena's.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. When you say that they've got to turn him, I still don't think they do, because if everyone's booing him so vociferously because of what his character's like now, anyone that's over the age of about 11, then what do they do? If they do turn his character and they make him a proper heel and they make him snarky and he has to go at the crowd, will that stop? Will they boo him the same? If those people want to see him be a heel, I think they might stop booing him. I think Cena could turn heel and get no real reaction. No, I think he gets a big reaction now.
I think if you imagine how evil they could make him, if all the kids hate him.
But people will like. But then if they make him heel and they make him nasty and he turns on the kids, there will be a few grown-ups that will go, brilliant. And they'll,
I think
start,
he just
and
needs
they'll start to like him a little bit.
I think he needs just a different element to his character. I think last night's promo, again, I was a little bit disappointed by seeing it because he came out, he was disappointing, but by the end of the promo,
That's what he always is.
it's just the same. He's the smiley,
Like,
happy,
I tried my best.
Yeah, that should have been.
I think I did all right.
But that's
not his voice, but that's how I hear his voice in his promo.
He needs to look more vulnerable now. I think he's lost to The Rock. He should come out and going, right now I need to, unbeatable. The super Cena needs to go. The super's been taken out.
Yeah.
His opponents now be like, well, he's beatable. We can take him on.
We will chat more about this after the break. We'll have another guest in the studio as well. Rhia O'Reilly will be joining us as well. You go and watch these messages and buy things as they suggest. We will see you in 2 minutes. Yeah, I've still got jet lag. It's not gone anywhere, and it's not likely to for any time soon. Welcome to part 2 of the Slam. We're here. It's the week after WrestleMania. We're all very excited. Many guests. They've all got names. We've got Ash Rose, we've got Rob McNichol, and now we're joined by the beautiful Miss Rhia O'Reilly and her coordinated hair accessory. Good. You all right?
I'm good. I'm excited about wrestling at the minute.
Good. So I think we all are. I think we're all very excited.
Ridiculous.
I mean, I'm just excited and tired, but I am equally very, 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 very excited. More WrestleMania chat. We'll have a guest on the Skype wall in a second. I have to talk about Daniel Bryan because in the stadium, when that happened, I swore more than I've ever swore at any other sporting event, including supporting a terrible football team for most of my life. That made me really, really, really angry.
No, it shouldn't have made you angry.
You know, it did make me angry.
I know everyone wanted a payoff of a really good match, and it would have been amazing, but it was genius that they did it. Daniel Bryan's been using AJ to win matches for months and months and months, and it backfires. Brilliant. Yeah, I know, 18 seconds, whatever. But it was great.
They could have had him use AJ in a 15-minute long match.
True. But how over is Daniel Bryan now? Last night at Raw, he wasn't even on the show, and they were like, well,
I can't believe
Daniel Bryan chant
in the stadium.
night.
The reason I started the show with a yes chant was because in the stadium there was nothing but yes chants for it. But that was before it, and then after his match, the fans were chanting Daniel Bryan all the time. But that is a sign that he's over.
Oh.
But he was over before that match happened, and they could have done better with him.
Everyone's really annoyed about it, but I think it's fun. It doesn't have to be a big payoff for everyone at WrestleMania. It doesn't have to.
It's not so much a big payoff. It's just a lot of people spent a lot of money on tickets, and to have a 10-minute long Divas match that is awful.
Well, yeah, I'm not even going
to.
I won't even go there.
And the backstage segments and stuff that are awful.
Heath Slater. I didn't recognise it was him. I was like, oh right, yeah, okay.
I thought it was 80s pop singer Tiffany.
Well, it could have been because some of the crowd were dead.
Yeah.
They just were like, "Oh, who's that?" We didn't need to see Flo Rida. We didn't need to see him do a song, let alone come out and do a skit.
Although I did think that Flo Rida looked like he could probably take quite a lot of people in a fight.
That was funny as
Certainly
well.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah.
He was about that size.
Yeah.
I know. But the thing was, they wouldn't on TV. As soon as The Rock went over to Flo Rida, they cut away because they didn't want to make The Rock not look really impressive.
I was hoping he was going to jump on Flo Rida's bike and just come down to the ring on the bike. That would have been
cycle,
awesome.
I hate to interrupt you three, but we have a guest on the Skype wall. We have on the Skype wall we have Jamal Ford Robinson. Hello, Jamal.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Now, I believe you're a Leicester Tigers player, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, this is weird because I'm from Leicester. Are you in Leicester at the moment?
Yeah, I live in Oadby.
Oh, you live in Oadby. Oh, posh. Nice.
Should we talk amongst ourselves when you do
Leicester.
This is all Leicester-based references.
Brock Lesnar.
So, first question, mate. I mean, WrestleMania, what do you reckon?
Bit give and take, I think. As a whole, it was quite good, but I think some certain matches let down. I thought the Rock and John Cena didn't really give up to all the hype. Bit disappointed about the Daniel Bryan match. I mean, that was good for the kind of storyline that they're going for, but I think Daniel Bryan and Sheamus could have really given a good match there. So
yeah, I mean, you said that the Rock Cena was disappointing. I'm going to ask. I'll ask the panel. I'm going to call you a panel.
The panel. I like it. It's quite neat.
Panel. Just one word answer. Do you think it lived up to the hype? I'll go Rhia across. So, did it live up to the hype? One word answer. Rhia.
Mostly.
That's such
It's one word. It's one word.
Has to be the word of the week. Yes.
Yes.
Just.
Yeah. Oh, you see. Yeah, I think you may have made a point there, Jamal. I mean, obviously I was there, and at the time, I mean, the atmosphere. That's the one. That and the Undertaker Triple H match. That was the two matches that really made the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, because you texted me as the Undertaker match was on, just going, that's why you're at WrestleMania. And up until that point, there was a little bit of me sitting there thinking, well, this is a nice sunny day, and I've seen a lot of fireworks, but this isn't.
And a palm tree.
Yeah, and a palm tree in the way of most of the ring. But this isn't necessarily the best show that I've ever watched. But it did sort of pick up from there. Did you enjoy the Undertaker Triple H match?
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me. I mean, that was probably one of the best matches I've seen. Like, maybe not just for like the general work, but the way that they brought in Shawn Michaels as the guest referee. I was a bit speculative of what they were going to do with him, but I thought he played it off really well.
Yeah, I think in terms of, because you bear in mind the Undertaker spent most of that match on his back. And because he's obviously a limited worker these days, but I think they really made, and Shawn Michaels' facial expressions, if anything, because I'm watching it in a stadium with no commentary, and that Shawn Michaels' facial expressions, where you can see him on the big screen, were great. You know, he really did seem to help make the point.
Triple H has got something that people don't always realise, and it was, excuse me, he's a fantastic reactor. And there was a moment where Undertaker was flat on his back, and he did the whole sit-up thing, and Triple H fell down.
Yeah.
He sort of sat back and he fell down, and he sold fear, and I thought, that made it. And I remember going back years when his reaction to Cactus Jack, when Mick, morphed into that. He's got that better than anybody else. And that made, and I can imagine from however far back you were, when you see him do that, you don't need to see their face, you can just see his body language.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Jamal, Martin, our producer, has asked me to ask you a very pertinent question with you being a rugby player. Firstly, what rugby players would make good wrestlers in your eye? You can say
do you
yourself.
mean like actual people or their positions that they play? Or?
No, I mean actual people. I mean, you can say yourself if you fancy a run in the WWE. We can probably try and make that happen.
I was thinking about it myself. Well, there's a guy I know called Alex Corbusiero.
Oh yeah, who's a massive wrestling fan, isn't he? He messages me on Twitter every now and again. He's well into it. Yeah,
I would have thought he might cut it out. So obviously you've got to look at some of those New Zealanders. I would have thought they've got the kind of body for it.
I'm being told, and bear in mind my limited rugby knowledge, I'm being told Sebastian Cheval.
I was just going to say him. He looks like Bruiser Brody with a big beard.
Oh, it's the dude with the beard.
The French guy.
Oh yeah, he's ace.
Right,
yeah.
So, there's another player for Leicester Tigers. His name's Castro Giovanni. Plays for Italy. He's got the same kind of look with all the hair and the long beard. I think he could go somewhere. Yeah,
and the other way round. I mean, can you imagine? Can you look at any wrestlers and go, yeah, he'd probably be all right at playing rugby?
Probably not any of the current wrestlers, I don't think.
Martin's gone mad with questions for you now. He's just gone, how effective would Rhino's gore be on a rugby?
He'd need Paul Heyman to shout gore every time that he did it.
Would it be an effective move? It'd be illegal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be borderline, but it'd be good to see.
I like that. I like the way you said borderline said, I'm trying that next time I can. Good stuff. Have you seen Raw from last night yet?
Yes, I managed to watch it this morning.
Now, we're going to talk more about the big twist at the end for people who perhaps haven't seen it yet. We're not going to give it away too much without saying spoiler alert massively. But, I mean, in terms of the crowd were insane for it, weren't they?
Yeah, I've never seen a crowd like that for a Raw. They're just, like, even when The Rock was doing his promo, just constantly chanting, like, loads of different things. And even the yes chants during John Cena's promo, I thought that was good to hear.
I demand that, next time you score a try, that you just stand there and just go, yes! Yes! Like, if you do that, then that would make my year. Jamal, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, my friend. Have you already had training today, or are you off free now for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I've had 2 training already. I've got another one at 3 o'clock, so...
That just seems harsh. Listen, mate, thank you very much for getting in touch with On The Slam. And any time you want to come on, you give us a shout, mate.
I'd just like to point out my T-shirt that I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you are a good man. I like that. I can't believe you didn't, knowing that you're from Leicester, you're living in Leicester, I can't believe you didn't come over and say hello. We'll mention this more later on in the show, mate, but we're going to show a little bit of raw footage that we've got from the first show. And you're coming to the next show as well, aren't you, in June?
Yeah, I've already ordered my front row ticket. So.
Good man. Good. Also, I like the fact that you're on the front row. Every single wrestler will sit there and go, You know, I'm not going to land on him at any point.
I think it's going to be the people in the second row that sat behind him and going, blah.
What view like? Yeah, how tall are you, Jamal?
I'm not that tall, but I'm probably wider than I am tall.
Yeah, I hear you, my friend.
As long as he's not landscape and he remains portrait, we're fine. Listen, Jamal, thank you very much, my friend, and thank you for wearing a Progress t-shirt. Good man. I didn't realise we made them that big. Good work. We will see you in June, and if you want to come on again, give us a shout anytime, mate. Thank you very much, Jamal.
Cheers, thanks.
Cheers, mate. Jamal, he came to my company's show, Progress. We're going to talk about that later on because we've got a little bit of footage from it from our show that we did the week before WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to quickly tell you about my experiences in Miami. Now, one thing that I'm really, really happy about, I kept getting recognised in Miami for various reasons. One was for running Progress, which I got recognised by a couple of people, including a guy who was sat in the front row at Mania who made a point of talking to me as I was leaving, which is pretty smart. He should have took a sign, really. And then I got recognised for doing Mick Foley's tour a few times. But the main one I got recognised for was for doing this television programme.
Yay!
How good is that?
Fantastic.
I went to watch Mercury Rising, the Dragon Gate show, which was fantastic. I went to watch that. I was sat on the second row, and I had not just Brits come up to me and say that they've seen the show. So obviously they're aware of you two as well. Less so you now, Ash, but obviously now you're a celebrity in America as well now, so it all counts.
Bonus.
So yeah, but it was really, really nice. I had, several American people come up to me and just go, "Oh, we watched the show," and I'm like, "How cool is this?" Yeah, so that was really good. The Dragon Gate show I went to see was tremendous. I know when you came into the studio, we were saying about how good a weekend it's been for wrestling in general. And I tried to go to Ring of Honor shows, but I ran out of time. But the Dragon Gate show I went to was amazing. I went to watch Colt Cabana's $5 Wrestling, which I then ended up being part of, and commentating on a Lex Luger Tracy Smothers match, which is the worst thing I have ever watched, which is the whole point of $5 Wrestling, if you're not aware. That was great fun. I sat on the same table at $5 Wrestling as New Jack. I sat next to New Jack.
Nice.
Nothing is more frightening than New Jack. Do you know what? He's lovely, but terrifying. Like, as if he wasn't frightening enough, he's had new piercings that are like spikes coming out of his eyes and out of his ears. And then when I sat down next to him, he told me that he liked my tattoos. And I think everything I said was, "Thank you, Mr. New Jack. Please don't carve me open." And I had a really long conversation with El Generico, who is
Spanish is good, is it?
Who's possibly my favourite wrestler in the world at the moment, just to watch. I think he's tremendous. I think he's so consistent. And I got to watch him wrestle for Dragon Gate, and I got to see him do his Brainbuster, which is one of my favourite finishing moves in wrestling. But Colt Cabana introduced me to him, and then Colt went, "This is my friend Jim," right? And there's no other wrestling fans around. He never leaves character. It was tremendous. He just spent the whole weekend in this hotel, the Wrestle Reunion Hotel, just never breaking character ever.
Fantastic.
And he's saying, so you're from Britain? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, where? I'm like, Leicester. Oh, see. I'm like, you're Canadian. Stop it. But I love that. I love commitment to people keeping in their gimmick as much as possible.
I've been around Christopher Daniels in his Curryman gimmick for a long period of time, and he completely and utterly kept it up in the presence of Dixie and a few others from TNA. And there's Daniels sat on the side, Curryman, full lot. It was astonishing. He didn't do it at all. He didn't leave it at all as well.
Yeah. See, I've had the flip side of that. I had spent time with Kane once, or Glenn Jacobs, and he was actually wearing a shirt, jeans, and buttering a croissant without masks. And you kind of sit there for a moment, and it's like, okay, this wasn't the Kane, the big red monster I was expecting. He was a nice guy, but he was just buttering his croissant, having a general chat on a nice weekday morning.
Rhia never leaves character. I know this because at the Progress show, to celebrate how well it had gone, she went up to my co-promoter and agent, John, and chopped him really hard. A fact that he's still now got scars from.
Did you
No,
go?
he doesn't.
He
I
does.
apologise for that when I saw him next.
No, to be fair, I thought it was brilliant. Carry on. We're going to go and have another little break now. When we come back, we're going to chat about Raw, because Raw was a little bit excited last night. So go and subliminally, probably be car insurance, but just go and buy it, and then we'll see you. Even if you don't need it, we'll see you in 2 minutes. Hello! Welcome to part three of the Slam. This show has already been going longer than a Daniel Bryan match at WrestleMania by at least 37 minutes so far. My guests, here we've got Rhia O'Reilly, and we've got Rob McNichol, we've got Ash Rose. And yeah, we're having a fantastic time.
Can I just
I've got jet lag so badly.
Can I say I've started using that as a form of timing? Because I was meeting someone today and I was about 2 or 3 minutes away, and I went, I'm about 5 Daniel Bryan matches away.
Nice.
So I think you should be going to a bit more.
Nice. Can I just remind us all that this is one of the best wrestlers in the world being used in this way. I mean, the one thing that can make him feel better is he will have got a massive percentage of that split.
Well, that's the thing is, like, Kevin Harvey tweeted on Twitter, he went, I don't think he's going to be very sad. He's made more money in 18 seconds than he did probably in all his indie years.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
He's not really going to be complaining about himself.
That is true.
Is
It's
he?
good hourly rate, isn't it? No, I just got gone.
I was going to say one thing. When you mentioned Kane and you said Glenn Jacobs, which obviously, you know, big stars in WWE, we tend to know their names. Now, this is something that I was discussing when Colt Cabana was over doing Progress with us. Obviously, when I met him at the airport, he introduced himself by his first name, and I couldn't call him by it. I find it really weird. And obviously, as well, you have to respect the business. So around fans, you still call people by their wrestling names. And I said to him, does it get annoying if people come up to you and call you by your real name? And he says, yeah, if they're in front of other fans. He says, what's even more annoying, obviously famously being friends with CM Punk, is if they go, how's Phil? Because he just gets really annoyed. He says he's called Punk Phil 5 times in his life, all of which I imagine when he's annoyed with him like a mother would. Do you know what I mean? And I think the one thing I noticed at WrestleMania in particular, not so much when I was watching Dragon Gate, because everyone who was at Dragon Gate was there to watch an indie show and was not being smart about it. But at WrestleMania, you had a combination of kids who are watching it on the basest possible level that still think it's completely real. That's fine. And then you've got older kids who are starting to learn about how it works and have decided who they like. You've got people like me who loves wrestling and, you know, will go and watch it. And there's people I will boo, but I don't boo them and then make a point of going, your real name is this, to try and ruin it for everybody else. And I did notice there was a guy sat behind me who was desperately trying to get people to realise how smart he was in terms of his wrestling knowledge. I don't know what this is with your hands.
Looks like yes, better say you're
I'm doing the pterodactyl. And I genuinely don't. That annoys me. And Rhia, as a wrestler, do you find that there are? Because I noticed this when we did the Progress show. There was 2 guys sat at the front who, whenever someone kicked out of a pin, they'd go, "Oh, I didn't think he'd kick out of that," and it kind of, you're not being funny. We all enjoy wrestling. Don't try and ruin it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Even people in wrestling, like, whatever people initially introduce you as, that's what you stick with. So there are some people who you've been friends with for years, but will only call them by their wrestling names, even outside of wrestling, because it's just how.
Well, people still call Mick Foley Cactus. I mean, you know, because that's how they met him.
Well, I think the strangest one I had was that I met the guy whose real name is Stephen Howarth, and his gimmick name at the time was Desmond Wolfe. The first time I met him, he went, "Hi, I'm Nigel." Because it's just what he's been. Everyone just calls him Nigel, and that's what it is. And it's like he can't help it.
He introduced himself as Stephen.
Really? Well, I was in a working capacity, you see, so I was probably trying to be official.
I know that you interviewed Kevin Nash recently.
I did, yes.
And he kept referring to the Undertaker as Mark.
He did a lot,
which is incredibly, I think, rude because everyone calls him Taker.
And he said Paul as well for Triple H. All he said was Paul.
I think that's him trying to be too smart. Just my opinion.
I'll take it as a compliment. I called him Oz, so.
The great and good Oz. I called him Master Blaster Steel.
He also called the big arena in North Greenwich the O. He didn't call it the O2. He went, it was good fun wrestling at the O.
Oh, nice. Bless him. Joining us on the Skype wall is the winner of Celebrity Dance-Off thing, Roland Rivron, otherwise known as Rob Lee from the Daily Mirror. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Jim. Thanks very much. And happy new Wrestlemania year to you all.
Thank you very much. Yes, of course. It's like the tax year begins now, as does the wrestling booking year. So it's the easy way of remembering. How are you, my friend? You good?
Very well, thanks. How are you? Did you have a good trip?
I did. I'm very jet lagged, but it was totally worth it. To
After the conversation, the jet lag then as well, shouldn't it?
Yeah. But it was cracking. I mean, I genuinely found it. I was saying this earlier on to a friend of mine that I found the experience of being in the stadium for WrestleMania a little bit odd in that I had really good seats and yet still couldn't really see anything because the only seats where you can see stuff brilliantly cost $1,000. You know, my seat was $350 and still was a long way away. You know, I've had I've had worse seats at football matches. Do you know what I mean? And it felt a bit, and the big palm trees thing didn't help. And the amount of it you end up watching on the screen is really weird. But then you get the atmosphere, so it kind of, the whole experience is brilliant. But the actually watching the wrestling, I feel like I need to go and watch the pay-per-view to really get a grasp of it.
It's strange that you say that. I mean, you didn't have as good a view as you did at Leicester. That's very odd.
I know, and but I mean, to be fair, everything I was watching was infinitely more exciting.
It's whether you want to watch it or not.
Yeah,
sometimes, isn't it?
but yeah, I mean, what were your sort of overall thoughts? I mean, if you let's do the mark out of 10 system. If you had to give the card a mark out of 10, what would you give it?
I think I'd give it a hearty 7. I mean, for me, I was most disappointed with the main event. Really, I don't know what you guys think about it, but it just didn't keep me awake. And I was shocked because I'm a big Cena fan, huge Rock fan, but a bigger Cena fan, and I was really pumped for it. I did think Rock would win. I do hope we will see a best of 3 series, but it just didn't work for me.
No, in the venue it felt amazing because when The Rock won, I mean there was people high-fiving, and it was like it's celebrating, and it's wrestling. It's a predetermined outcome. We all knew there was a fair chance. I still thought they'd put Cena over, but the people were genuinely celebrating it like a major victory for the city of Miami. That's what it felt like. It felt like you were watching a Dolphins game and they've just won. That's what it felt like.
So you didn't think there was any atmosphere lost? I mean, on the pay-per-view, there's a lot to talk about the stadium not keeping the reactions in the building, as it were. Did you not feel that at all?
I felt that the Punk Jericho match was flat atmosphere-wise because they'd had the Hell in a Cell match.
They had to follow it.
And also, it's really hot there. And, I'd been in the stadium from 5 o'clock in the evening and was roasting. And I was running out of energy, and I'm ridiculously pumped for any wrestling I go and see. So I did find that it felt very, very long. A lot of the younger members of the audience were getting tired, and by the time the show had finished, when you've been sat in the heat for that long, and you've had such an amazing match in the middle of the card, I think that did affect the atmosphere a little bit. I think by the time Rock and Cena were in the last sort of 5-10 minutes of that match, it built back up again. But there were definitely flat points. There were definitely points.
The impact of the Hell in the Cell match, but to me, I'm starting to wonder whether Jericho's actually losing it, because him at WrestleMania, the reactions aren't that big, and everything was on his side to get him going. He had the chicken poo roll, like Christian last year, had the stipulations going with him, and he still was made to look like a geek at the end. He didn't win. I mean, I'm a bit worried about Chris Jericho. It's all about the entrances, but there's no reaction during his matches.
The one thing I noticed about his match was when he was getting a massive pop every time he put the Walls of Jericho on. The crowd went crazy for it, even though they're not. They weren't crazy for anything else he did. And it was the same with Cena. Cena was getting very, very loudly booed, but every time he did the AA, there was a massive pop. It was really odd. It was almost like the fans were predetermined. Like if they saw a finishing move, they got really excited, no matter who did it.
Well, I guess you've been trained over the years to react to certain things. I thought the biggest reaction that they got of almost like the kind of Japanese reaction of the awe of it was when Punk did the Hurricane Rana in the corner, which Jericho turned into a walls, which was beautifully executed by the pair of them. And the reaction for that wasn't a cheer; it was just a because it was so good. And I think that's the moment where I thought they got the fans back at that point.
Yeah, I think
Rob, it's almost like a nostalgia pop, though, isn't it? Really, I mean, when was the last time Jericho won with the Walls of Jericho?
It's a fair point, but I think it's also to do with the fans that are there. Did you find being there, Jim, that did you get the sense that there were people there that don't really follow wrestling a great deal anymore, but WrestleMania is a bigger deal? Because I know people that don't watch anything all year, but they watch WrestleMania.
There was a couple of guys sat in front of me who were businessmen, and they were wearing like smart business clothes. They've been working. I think they were card dealers.
Wasn't IRS, was it?
No, and it was IRS and the right to censor. And, and any other shirt and tie combinations, and Amish roadkill, and Mankind, and they were sort of sitting there and they were chatting amongst themselves for everything apart from the main event. They weren't that interested. Equally, where I was sat wasn't that full until about 3 or 4 matches in.
It looked really bad with all the seats up the top. I know they announced 78,000, but until it actually went dark, while you could still see around the arena, there are lots of red seats around the top.
I think it's easy for them to get 78,000. If it would have been properly full, it would have been 90 because of all the seats they put on the floor, because it's a 78,000 seater stadium anyway. So, I think there's definitely people who bought tickets and either bought other tickets on the day or traded up or whatever, because there was definitely, I had friends who bought $25 tickets up in the top and then managed to get tickets near me. Right. So, you know. We need to move on to Raw. Quite a big night last night on Raw. Obviously, the big story is Eve Torres' continued heel. No, it isn't. It isn't.
It's A-Train. It's the return of A-Train.
It's the return of Giant Bernard, which I'm really excited by.
And his new gimmick is Lord Train Set.
Yeah, we'll come to the big thing in a minute. But am I the only person who's excited? I like Japanese wrestling. I like the Giant Bernard gimmick. Not gimmick, but his work in Japan was really good.
Really good. I'm really excited about the return of Matt Bloom, but I have to say I agree with Rob's tweets last night. Lord Train Set, it didn't feel. We as fans, do we expect too much now, especially on the first Raw after WrestleMania? We expect everything to be a killer. But I think I wondered whether he could be. I thought it might be one and done with Jericho, but it looks like that's going to continue. I thought Lord what's he called? Tensai. Lord Tensai would be an ideal opponent for Punk, actually, but I don't know. It just seemed a bit flat. But apart from the obvious resonances with assaults, it really struck me like when Yokozuna kicked off in 1992. People aren't reacting loud, and you can switch it as if people are in awe. But it didn't really come off like when they ended it because Alex Riley couldn't continue or whatever that decision was supposed to be. It didn't really make sense, did it?
No, I mean, it was probably Alex Riley had some kind of fake tan malfunction.
I think it might have been one return too many as well, because I think fans were expecting the return at the end.
Shall we just say it? Hello viewer. If you haven't found what happened on Raw last night yet, basically Brock Lesnar returned to the surprise of no one at all in the arena.
Not the fans chanting for him.
I mean, there's a surprised look on Brock's face.
That's a great picture. Brock smash! I'm so excited.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that there was a point where Cena looked genuinely annoyed at them chanting Lesnar, wasn't there? And I quite like that.
I thought he dealt with
Stop
it well,
ruining the surprise.
He dealt with it well, though, didn't he? Because they were thinking we want Lesnar, and he went, well, I want The Rock. I thought it was quite. I thought he dealt with it all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, how long do we think a program that Lesnar can work? Because obviously he's not the wellest man in the world.
He didn't look like the same monster. Obviously, it's a different time. It's 8 years since he's last been in the WWE, but he didn't look the same. Obviously, he's going to need to be match fit, I suppose is the term. But
I guess he's going to work a limited, just like The Rock did. I think he's probably going to work a limited schedule. As long as people get like a little appearance from him now and again, that's going to be enough to keep him on edge.
But I can honestly F5 though.
I can honestly see Lesnar and Cena, and then Lesnar and Punk. Lesnar wins the belt, and then Rock versus Lesnar.
I disagree completely.
Yeah, you would, Roland.
And that's why you work for rival newspapers.
It was always likely that Brock was going to come back because of his age, and we're not going to have that longer career because he doesn't have to. He's got lots of money, but the man's lost the best part of his colon now. That unwillingness to work a full schedule is accentuated even more now. So I think he's going to steamroller through a few people, certainly, but I don't think they're going to sacrifice The Rock to him. I think it'd be a mistake to sacrifice Punk to him. I think I think the time frame is going to be a lot shorter. I actually think it's going to be the other way around. I think Brock is going to be going into an immediate program with Cena to build up Cena for the return matches with The Rock.
You just mentioned that Brock Lesnar has lost part of his colon. Does that mean he's only got a semicolon now?
You can do all your own grammatical jokes.
Thanks.
I thought you were going with a Carlito or Primo joke with that one, with the colon. But there you go.
No. Oh yeah, that's good. It's very good. He's lost a Puerto Rican wrestler at some point. Rob, lovely Rob. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for your insights into Lesnar. I'm very excited about Lesnar, but I think it remains to be seen as how long it's going to last, definitely.
We'll see how much he can go. I'm sure he can still perform, but I don't think it's going to be the Brock Lesnar of 10 years ago. I just don't think he's the same man anymore.
Yeah, no, not fair play. Listen,
wonderful. Speak to you all.
It's a pleasure, Rob. Thank you very much, Rob. That's Rob Lee from the Daily Mirror. If you want to follow him on Twitter, he's at Robbie Dazzler on which is a lovely Twitter name on Twitter, so you can follow him there. We're going to have our final break in just a second. When we come back, we will talk a little bit more about the excellent weekend of wrestling that was this past weekend, not just with WWE, and also we'll show you a little bit of Raw footage, from, not Raw footage, but Raw footage from Progress, the promotion that I'm ring announcer / owner of. Co-owner. So we'll show you a little bit of raw footage of that because we're quite excited about it. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes after these messages. Ole! Welcome back to part 4 of the Slam. I am Jim Smallman. It's our wrestling show here at Sports Night Live. And joining me in the studio are my three guest monkeys. Hello, guest monkeys. We have Ash Rose, we have Rhia O'Reilly, and we have Rob McNichol in the middle. Who's the only one who's just?
I'm the only one that's doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, what? Every now and again.
See, hear, speak. It's not see, speak, hear.
Is it not?
No,
Oh, okay.
you got it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, sorry.
Three of you are terrible.
I got the wrong cue.
Wrestling. Anyway, the week before I went over to Wrestlemania, I started ages ago, but we had the first show of a wrestling promotion called Progress. Jamal, who was on early on, was wearing one of our T-shirts. I'm co-owner of it with my agent and friend John, because basically we decided we quite liked wrestling last year, and we'd put on a wrestling show thinking, how hard could it be? Quite hard. It is quite hard to do. But we had a great time. We ran a show at the Garage in Islington in London, and we've got a little bit of raw footage. Now, this isn't, we're releasing it as a DVD. This isn't the final footage because this is just from one camera and all that sort of stuff. It's not been edited properly yet. But we just wanted to show you a little bit of what it was like. So we can play the footage now. Have a look.
And in the corner to my left. He is from Maxwell Street, Chicago, Illinois, the United States of America, weighing in at 245 pounds. This is Colt Boom Boom Cabana!
Grin on your face, look.
How excited am I helped do that. That is, like we said, that's just raw footage. You can pre-order the DVD now, progresswrestling.com. And the next show is on Sunday, June the 24th, which is already about half sold. I think all the premium seats are gone, some standard seats left, some standard seats left and some standing left. So if you want to come along, please do, progresswrestling.com, Sunday, June the 24th. You two were at the show.
We were, yeah.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
Without giving your ego any more boosting, it was probably the best British wrestling show I've ever been to.
Woo! Yes! Yes!
It was amazing.
Yes!
It worked on so many levels. You had the right venue, the right crowd, the right wrestlers. I had an amazing time. It's brilliant.
I mean, you know that my goal in wrestling is to create something like the ECW Arena, which is what we wanted to do, and I think we had. It was that nuts in there. It was really mad.
I mean, my instinct with anything is to want to take the mickey, and I don't want it to sound like it's a bit of a loving, but I totally agree with what Rhia said, and I thought the match between Marty Scurll and Zack Sabre Jr. genuinely is the best match I've ever seen in this country, and I mean that, bar none.
I was stood by the side of the ring, and if anyone could see, I think you could probably see from where you were stood, me, for the entire match, as ring announcer, was like this. And then a couple of days later, I'd pretty much forgotten, like, because it felt like such a nice, because we were so stressed about it, it felt like such a nice moment that then when we ended up sort of sitting back and reflecting on it, it was like, oh yeah, that really happened. Someone posted a video they'd shot on their phone of me thanking the crowd at the end and them chanting "Thank you, Jim," which made me cry. It was because it was just, for me, it's a hobby. Yeah. You know, I wanted to put a show on because I love wrestling, and for it to work that well was great. So now we've got to edit a DVD, which is going to take some time. Oh, incidentally, when you do get the DVD, it won't feature the music that you just heard, which was from Horny Housewives 19, I believe, from our producer Martin's personal collection. So, yeah.
I must give him that back, actually. Sorry, Martin. I'll get it to you at some point.
Before we wrap the show up as well, I mean, Ray, you mentioned before, obviously it's been a good weekend for wrestling, British wrestling in particular, because obviously I wasn't here, but you went to Brit Wrest Fest.
Yes, Brit Wrest Fest in the UK. It was a free show with people just donating money to Great Ormond Street to come in and enjoy an afternoon of wrestling. They had a great setup and a lot of promotions from across the UK. I got 7 or 8, I don't know, promotions from across the UK all came together. They all put a match on, and it was just a really lovely day. There was lots of families, and it was just really nice.
Yeah.
And everyone put a lot into it, and it was a really great day. So it's good.
Because I know at Progress we put a BWC title match on. It was a ladder match, which I've heard was really good, and obviously I wasn't there to see it, which was disappointing.
Well, they said on the day that the whole show is going to be available for free online as well, so people are going to be able to check out afterwards, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's excellent stuff.
Yeah.
And also, it's been a big weekend for Ring of Honor. I had 2 shows in the States. The Dragon Gate shows, I went to one of them, but I mean, some of them were available really cheap as well.
Yeah, that's the really good thing about. I mean, I know you went on the Saturday night, the Friday night, which was the smaller Dragon Gate show. You can watch it online for like $1.99.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great gateway. It was called Open the Great Gateway or something like that.
Yeah, but they have got weird names for their titles in that.
Yeah, but it was just a way to get like, oh no, I know it was Open the Ultimate Gate. And obviously they were trying to get as many people to watch it as possible, and that's what they wanted, and it's great.
If you would like to purchase an Ultimate Gate, they are available at MFI in the garden department. But if you do get a chance, do check out Dragon Gate, because I went to see the Mercury Rising pay-per-view, and it was brilliant. I think you can get that for it's about $12, and it's certainly worth it. Now, time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much to my 3 lovely guests. We have Ash Rose, thank you, Ash. We have the Sons, Rob McNichol, and we have the lovely Rhia O'Reilly, perfecting the smile at the end, that's very good. I have been Jim Smallman. Thank you very much for tuning in. We shall return soon with more wrestling-based chat here at Sports Tonight Live. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Ta-ra.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.